Okay, so we are going to start with the basic concept of Java. So first, I would like to know what you guys know about Java. Nobody? All right, let me start. So Java is a programming language. So what I mean by programming? Any idea, guys?
Coding.
Object-oriented language.
Object-oriented language. All right. All right. So before moving to the word programming, let's first discuss about what is a language. What is a language?
Medium
Guys,
of
feel free
communication.
to answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows the answer can just go and tell the answer.
A medium of communication.
Yeah. Mode of communication. Very true. All right. So if we want to talk with our machine, what I mean by machine is a computer. So what we have a concept of programming language. So language is a mode of communication, like between you and me. We are using a language. In this case, we are using English. There might be a different language can be used to basically to deliver your message to the receiver. You can use any language which can be understood by both the parties. So we can say a language is a mode of communication, but when we talk about computer, it doesn't listens to our instructions or it doesn't understand our language. So we want to instruct a computer how we will do that. Then the concept of programming came into picture. What is a programming language? A programming language is a mode of communication between a computer and a human. All right, guys?
Yeah.
Any doubts? We can say mode of communication between computer and human being. All right. Now, what kind of programming language it is? So when we talk about programming, there are programming like high level, low level, or when we talk about programming, so there are certain paradigms like earlier in 80s, we have a concept of like procedure oriented programming. Then we have ops programming, object oriented programming. Okay. So when we say high level, what I mean by high level and what is the meaning of low level? Anyone, guys?
One high level language is that should be understood by the humans. Low level means understood by the machine language.
All right. Anything else apart from this?
High level means we can reuse the code. If we do once, we can use many times.
All right. All right. Anybody has worked on procedure oriented programming?
No.
All right. Okay. So when we say high level programming language, so high level programming is like we have a concept of abstraction, which high level programming language, like it is more likely to be readable by human, right? And when we say low level programming language, so low level programming language is a language basically that provides or doesn't provide abstraction, a layer of abstraction. Like in this, the instructions are is going to be very complex. Like we want to write a plus b, so we can just say a plus b, but when we go to low level, like microprocessor, in microprocessor, what we can have, we have instructions like which are more close to your microprocessor. When we say A plus B, these are more close to a human. All right. Gurpreet is asking, can we record the session? Yes, Gurpreet, we are recording, and I believe you guys will receive a recording end of the session. Okay, now procedure-oriented programming and ops programming, what are those? So basically, procedure-oriented programming is a programming where our main focus is to write or to achieve the goal, what we are going to do inside a single function. Suppose we have a problem to solve. What we guys do, we write 100 or even 1,000 or 10,000 line of code into a single function to achieve, to perform that task or to solve that particular problem. What happens when it goes beyond like 10,000 line? So maintaining this code will be very difficult. All right. So then we have a programming concept that is called ops programming. In this paradigm or programming, what we guys have is we do not really worry about like solving the problem in single go. What we guys have is we have a concept of modularity. First, we will split out the problem into different sub modules. These modules basically are going to be their classes. Then inside classes, we will have something called method. So to achieve a task, we will not just write all the code into a single function. We will have a concept of called class. Then inside class, we will have concept of method. So a program will be break it down into multiple classes and then into multiple methods. Maintaining that kind of program will be more easier as compared to the procedure oriented one.
So in the procedure, they just have lines of code. They don't break it anything.
Yeah, they don't really break it into multiple pieces.
Mm-hmm.
They just are concerned about like achieving the goal into a single function.
What kind of language it is, like example?
We can take example of C. For ops, we can say C++. Oh, sorry, this is not O++.
Okay.
We have Java. Then we have Python. All right. So we can say Java is a programming language which supports ops, object-oriented programming. All right. Now, next thing is, what are the different features? Like why we should use Java? What are the different features? Anybody have any idea? No one. Okay.
The case sensitive features and reusable features and
okay. Case sensitive and what next you said?
Reusable.
All right.
Reusable code.
Okay. Perfect.
It's a platform independent.
Secure.
Yeah, that is main advantage, or I can say feature. Platform independent. All right. Let me first list down all the features, then we will discuss one by one. Java is platform independent programming language. Then it is secure. We will discuss how.
And multi-threaded.
Yes. Multi-threaded. Then we have a concept called object oriented. Then we have another feature that is called robust.
Portable.
Right. Simple. Then we have distributed and dynamic. Okay, and other features are there also, like high performance, we can see. So what I'm writing is readable by everyone,
Yeah.
I believe. Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
All right, all right. Okay, so let's talk about this feature, platform independent. How Java is platform independent? Anybody knows? Or let me just start answering this.
Yeah, actually, Java code is converted to a bytecode, that is in intermediate code that should be understood by any JVM and any platform.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
So let me just take an example of earlier languages like C and C++. So for example, I have a file. Let me call it abc.c, and this one is having instruction a plus b. All right. So this is the source file for a C program. When we compile it, what we will get is we will get abc.obj, and it will contain instruction for microprocessor. Contains instructions for microprocessor. Microprocessor is the device which is ultimately or at the end responsible for processing your source code or doing the required task. Everybody knows that, I believe. Am I right?
Yes.
Whatever the instructions you give to your system ultimately will be processed by your microprocessor. Okay. So in this file abc.abg, what it contains instruction for microprocessor. So let's say we are on Windows. People are from non-IT background. They I think they do not know what a microprocessor is. There are different series kind 8085, 8086 kind of series that guys who are from CS background or electronics background, they have an idea, like they have read some subject like computer system architecture or digital electronics. So a microprocessor topic were there, like what kind of architectures of microprocessor we guys have. Let's keep it simple. What we can have is like you guys know Intel processor.
Yes.
I think this
Yeah.
term is known by everybody.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
commonly used term, and nowadays we have a called another category, that is Ryzen. Right.
Yeah.
So let's assume we are writing this abc.c program on Windows. All right. And in this Windows, what we have an Intel processor. All right. So our environment is basically Windows and Intel.
Okay.
And Intel on this platform, a plus b is not readable by the machine. What this machine understand is, it understands add a b. I'm just taking an example. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Guys who are from CS background, they know there are some instruction format like this. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's understand when we have abc.c with the code abc So A plus B, it is going to convert this code into add A B. That is basically understandable by this machine only. All right. There is another machine which is, let's say, Linux, and this is on AMD processor, for example. This machine understand A plus B like A add B. Now, when we are going to give this file to this machine, it will see add AB. I don't know what this instruction is, because what I know is A add B. I don't really know about add AB. So at this platform, this instruction or this OBJ file will not be executed. All right. Yeah. You guys are getting me? Yeah. All right. Okay. Now, what happened in case of Java program? Let's take example of Java. We have the same instruction in abc.java file. When we compile it, we will get a intermediate code which is abc.class, and in this there is some intermediate code. Let me call it 01010, something like that. Right? This is not any instruction, like it can be converted to this format, it can be converted to this format. So what we have is an intermediate code which is understandable by both the machines, but directly this cannot be understood by any machine. So we have a concept of called JVM. Java Virtual Machine. Every environment has their own JVM provided by Oracle. So what this JVM does, it checks on which kind of environment I am, and it takes the input, this bytecode, and converts that particular bytecode into that platform. Like if we are on Windows and with Intel, this bytecode will be converted into add AB, and if we are on Linux, then it will be converted into A add B. Does it make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. So the JVM itself is responsible for converting your bytecode into machine readable instructions. Right. So when we say abc.obj, or in some cases you might have a exe file, right? So in this, what we have is contains instruction for microprocessor, but here in this case what we have is instructions for Java Virtual Machine. All right. So if I say how Java is platform independent and who is responsible to make it platform independent, so what would be your answer, guys?
JVM.
JVM. And what if I say, is JVM platform independent?
No.
So
It's a platform dependent.
Right. Every platform will have different implementation for this JVM. So JVM itself is not platform independent, right? It is dependent. Like for Intel or Windows machine, we have a different JVM. For Linux, we have a different JVM. For Mac, we have a different JVM. But this JVM helps Java program to be platform independent. Like we have this abc.class file and we can run it in any environment like on Windows, on Linux, on JVM. So there would be a term you guys get to know if you refer on internet that is called VORA. Stands for write once and run anywhere. All right, guys. So you might hear this term if you look over the internet. So this might come into picture. Any doubt with this first feature? I believe no. Okay. Now let me move to next feature, which is secure. How Java is secure? So there are 4 terms. I'm just going to write down them. Have you guys ever heard about impersonation?
No.
Yeah. Impersonation
All
is
right.
like mimicry, right? Not
Yeah, kind of. And eavesdropping.
Eavesdropping, yeah.
Okay. Tampering.
No. What
Okay, let me write it down. Eavesdropping, then I said tampering, then we have another feature called impersonation. And I think one more term is there that is called virus. Everybody knows what a virus is. All right. So what is impersonation? Impersonation is basically hiding your own identity and behaving or acting like the other person. All right. So when you guys make transactions on internet, the system doesn't really know like who is making the transactions on your behalf, right?
Yeah.
So how you guys can identify that?
By giving an IP address on digital signature.
To prove your identity, you have to provide your digital signature, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Java has inbuilt capacity of generating digital signature to secure your applications. Like if you have secure system, then you can introduce digital signature concept in your applications so that your system can be secure. Like whenever a user want to do something in your system, then he or she has to prove he is the right user, he has the right access to use the system. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Now, what is eavesdropping? Eavesdropping is kind of reading someone's data illegally. Like you are not the authorized person, but you are accessing that data by, let's say, called hacking. You are reading the data that was not meant for you to read, but using some mechanism like hacking, you are reading that is called eavesdropping. Then we have a next term. I'll come to this eavesdropping point in next 2 minutes. So next we have is tampering. Tampering means basically reading or modifying that data. For example, I have built a system, right, which transfer data from a sender to receiver. I'm sending a message hello, and it is going to the receiver in the same format hello. Receiver is getting hello only, and you are the spy sitting here and you are reading, oh, hello message is going to the receiver. So that is called eavesdropping. Now I have sent hello and you have made it by. That is called tampering. You have modified the content of the method,
Yeah.
sorry, message. So that is called tampering. Now how Java uh, provide security from this threat, eavesdropping and tampering? So in Java there is a inbuilt encryption capability we can use, and the decryption capability as well. Like from here we will not send hello, we will send something like, we will first convert this hello message into some encrypted format that is called keeper text. Using some algorithm and some keys, it will be received by the receiver in the same format ABCXYZ, but using the decryption key and the algorithm we have used here, it will the receiver basically what it will do is it will decrypt the message in the same from keeper to the plain text. So this is plain text. When we convert it into encrypted format, it becomes keeper text. Now we have keeper text. Now we have to convert it into again plain text, then we need to decrypt it using the same algorithm that we have used here. So Java provides inbuilt capability of encryption and decryption. Now next thing is virus. I think everybody knows it. Guys, have you tried to send any email with an exe using Google server, like Gmail server I'm talking about? Have you ever tried attaching an exe and sending a mail to someone?
No.
No. So Google doesn't allow, because there might be a chance of attaching virus. With exe file, virus can be attached easily. But when we talk about Java, we don't have a concept of exe. What we have is dot class, which is similar to a text file with which we cannot attach a virus. So also provides security from virus. All right. Now two more things are there, like how Java is secure. That is, there is a concept of bytecode verifier, and one more thing is there that is called security manager. So bytecode verifier I will discuss in the next class. Then we will study about JVM, Java Virtual Machine. All right, and this will also be discussed later on in upcoming classes. I don't think it is important to tell you guys here what security manager does. Okay. Now, if you don't have any doubt, let me move to the next topic, next feature, which is multi-threading or multi-threaded. Any idea, guys, what is multi-threading or multi-threaded?
Yeah, if a Java program has some code, it will be divided into multiple threads to execute that program as a task.
All right. So I believe everyone has a PC which has multiple CPUs. Yes or no, guys? I think everybody has the PCs like in which you guys have multiple CPUs, Core 2 Duo, P5, right? So what I mean by multiple CPUs? There are multiple CPU present in your system to process your instructions, or you can do multi-programming. Now let's talk about multi-threading. It's kind of similar concept of multi-programming. I believe you guys know about multi-programming. What is multi-programming?
No.
No. Okay. Let me just talk about multi-programming first. Then we will move to multi-threading. Okay. So what is multi-programming? Multi-programming is a concept of performing multiple tasks simultaneously at the same time.
Okay, okay.
Right?
Yeah, got it.
For example, now you are attending the class using Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
In background, there are some other apps also running on, like you might taking notes somewhere in your system.
Yeah.
Right? Or we can just say like you are using your browser to browse something, and
Mm-hmm.
in parallel you have opened a Word file where you are doing copy paste from some text which you are receiving from your browser. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is called multi-programming. In general, we can just say like, for example, you are reading a newspaper,
Yeah, yeah.
and mean at the same time you are taking your tea.
Yeah, got
All right.
it. So you're doing many tasks at the same time.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. Yeah, exactly. Now let's come to multi-threading. What is multi-threading? So multi-threading is kind of similar executing multiple threads at same time. So when we run a Java program, there is a thread that is called main thread. I'm not just going to discuss in detail. Every program in Java has a thread.
Okay.
That is called main thread. So when we write a program, we can say it's a single thread program because one thread is there. Now, what we can have is we can have multiple threads in a program. Let me take a scenario. I have to do 4 tasks. One task, let me call task 1, which takes 10 seconds to complete. Task 2 complete 15 seconds. Task 3 takes 20 seconds to complete. Okay. And there is no dependency between these tasks. Like these all are independent tasks. When we are running in single threaded environment, what will happen to complete these 3 tasks? What we need to do, or like how many time we want to complete these 3 tasks?
45 seconds.
45 seconds, right? But if we have concept of multi-threading, this can be done into maximum 20 seconds. Like it will run in parallel, it will run in parallel, it will run in parallel. It will be completed in first 10 seconds. Next 5 seconds, this will also be finished. And in next 5 seconds, this will also be finished. So total time will be taken by the system would be 20 seconds.
Okay.
All right. So this is a separate huge topic we will discuss in detail later on. I believe you got the idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Now object oriented. What is object oriented? Okay. What is an object?
An object is a real thing that can
Stand.
see some actions.
All right. Okay. Okay. Let me just
An
brief
instance,
about object oriented
the class.
programming. So what object or what is the purpose of like object oriented programming? In an object oriented programming, we can design our entire system in the form of objects. Now you are curious, like what is an object? An object is a real world entity that is exist physically around us, like we all are object of person class. All right, you guys and me, we all are object of a person class. I believe everyone use Amazon or Flipkart. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So when you create an account in Amazon or Flipkart, what happens? A user gets created into Amazon's or Flipkart system. Depends where you are creating your account. So you will represent an entity that is called user in their system. Getting me?
Yes.
Okay. So when we say user, user will have his own properties like name, mobile number, address, etc., etc. All right. Now we can take another example of an object. You guys place order with Amazon. So what you guys do? You add some products. You guys add some products in your cart and then do checkout. All right. So what exactly an product is? A product is also an object. It might be a book you are ordering. It might be a phone you are ordering. So in general, we can say it's a product. Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. And product has its own attribute like name, warranty, price, or let me call it MRP, discount, taxes. All these are properties related to order. Sorry, not order, product. All right. Next entity can be an order. So order will have a user like who have placed this order. Then there might be some items in that order, like we have ordered a phone and a book, right? So there are two items in that order. Then order will have order date, expected delivery date, total sum or total amount that user has to pay or have paid, like. So we can say an order is also an object. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So when we say object oriented means we can develop entire system based on objects. All right. We will have a separate discussion on class and object. Now we have next concept that is called robust. How Java is robust? So robust basically a term that means a thing that never feel tired. It will run continuously. It will never tired. So we can say it's a robust. Okay, now how Java is robust? So there are two things which makes Java robust. First is automatic garbage collection. Java provide automatic garbage collection capability. Second one is exception handling.
Memory management.
Yeah, memory management we can say. This is memory management. Okay. Let me just brief or about this AGC. What is automatic garbage collection? So before going to automatic garbage collection, let me just discuss about garbage collection. What is garbage collection? So garbage collection is basically a process of dereferencing or removing unused object from the memory. Whenever you create an object, it will take some memory. Where it will take memory? It will consume some space on your system's RAM, random access memory. Now, what Java does, Java has a concept of daemon thread which runs in the background infinitely and keeps checking what are the objects that we can remove from the RAM to free up some memory. That memory would be available for next object. For example, you are creating object, you are just keep going to create object. At the end, what will happen? The RAM would be filled and your program will stop working. You can say the program will hang. Have you seen something like that in with some other applications? Like sometimes what happens if a program takes more than memory, like we have 1 GB RAM or 2 GB RAM, and our program is taking more than 2 GB RAM, what will happen? The program will hang entire system. Our entire system will stop working. All right. So what Java does, they have a concept of automatic garbage collection. Like you just need to worry about how to create an object, and you don't really need to worry about how to remove this object from the memory. Now, let me just brief you how to create an object in Java. So what we have is a concept of called new keyword. Some of you might have heard about it. Class obj equals to new class. We can create an object like this. So when we say new class, what it will does, it will take some memory. We will learn about JVM in next class. So there we will learn about heap. That is the area where objects get stored, and this will be created on RAM, the heap area. So if you are going to create object, let's say we are creating object inside a loop and we are keep going to create, what will happen? This RAM will be filled at a time and your program will stop working. But what Java does, it checks whether a particular object we have inside our heap is getting used or having some reference, then keep it. And if it is not getting used and there is no reference pointing to that object, then just remove it from the memory and free up that memory. That memory can be available to next objects that are going to be created. Right? Now, next thing, any doubt in automatic garbage collection? Yeah. One more thing about automatic garbage collection. Java use mark and sweep algorithm. For garbage collection, mark and sweep. So what daemon thread does, it marks the object which are not getting used or there is no reference for that object, and then sweep clean up that memory. You might get asked who is responsible for garbage collection. So we can say daemon thread. And how, which algorithm it uses? Mark and sweep algorithm. All right, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, next thing we have is exception handling. What is an exception? An exception is an abnormal condition which basically abrupts or abnormally terminate our program. For example, in a program, we have 100 line of code. Line 1, line 2, and we have line 100. Let's say this is line 10, for example. There is something wrong with this line. There is some exception at line number 10. So what will happen? These 9 lines will be executed, and after this line, when there is an exception, entire program will be bypassed. Like line number 11 to 100 will not be executed because there was an error. Abnormally, your program will be terminated, or we can say completed. But we don't really want to complete this program abnormally. What we can do is we can introduce a concept of called exception handling. What it does, basically, whenever there is an exception, it will handle that scenario and skip that particular step. So there is an error with line number 10. Okay, skip it. Continue with the rest of the line and complete it till 100. Getting my point? So we can say for now, exception handling is a mechanism of avoiding unacceptable situations using the skip mechanism. All right.
So,
Now,
so only that exception part will be skipped, and then it
yes,
will go continue.
exactly. If it is if there is an exception, for example, let me take an example. What I'm doing is I'm writing a program which reads a file from internet. There might be scenarios like internet is not working, and file is not there at the given path. There might be this scenario, right?
Yeah.
So what will happen in these two cases? We can skip that part. Okay, file is not there. We can define alternate ways. Like if file is not there on internet, we have a file on local file system, read from there. Handling exception is basically we can define alternate path of execution.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Any doubt? Okay. Now next is portable. What I mean by portable? Any idea, guys?
Yeah, we can take the and execute the program on different machines without coding, without changing the code.
Then what is platform independent?
System.
Sorry?
Can run on any operating system.
Yeah, that is fine. Then how it is differ from platform independent?
Yeah. By using the help of JVM, it will execute the program without changing the code. For example, in Windows machine.
So these two terms, I agree with you. Yeah. These two terms, platform independent and portable, look similar, but portable here means is if there are any architectural changes in your system, it will not impact the behavior of your program. For example, you were working on this environment. Let me take the same example again. Windows and Intel processor, and what happens? You are not taking this program anywhere in different different system. You are doing some changes in your system, like you are upgrading your processor, you are upgrading your operating system, you are upgrading your hardware kind of thing. Getting me?
Yeah.
So any architectural changes on your system will not impact the behavior of your program. It will behave exactly same it was behaving earlier. Make sense?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Now next point is simple. So in C++, in C, what concept we have is like pointer. That is really a complex feature, we can say. Also an confusing, like understanding the pointer concept in C is very complex. But Java doesn't have this kind of feature, and all the syntaxes of Java has been driven from C++. Most of the syntaxes are driven from C++. And guys who have experience in C++ will see in couple of days it is more simple. In reality it is simple from C and C++. Working with Java is very easy. Now next is distributed. What is distributed?
So we can get the program over the internet.
Correct. Okay, you can write distributed system like you have system 1, you have system 2 here, some of the program running here, some of the program running here. These program can communicate to each other. Like for a bank application, for example, you don't have all the logic in single system. You have two different system, or there can be multiple, which are talking to each other and finally responding to a bank. Like from a bank website, I'm doing some transactions. So these transactions are not going to happen in a single system. There are multiple system involved, right? So that kind of architecture is called distributed architecture. And how Java supports it? Java have concept of like RMI, remote method invocation. Remote method invocation basically means we have a method or a function running here in a remote machine, and we are calling it from a caller machine. Getting me? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now Java has provided the concept of EJB, Enterprise Java Bean, Corba, and nowadays we have concept of web service. I believe you guys know this.
Yeah.
You might hear name about REST and SOAP. Who are in IT, they might hear the name REST and SOAP. So what we can have with this feature, we can have applications logic distributed across multiple JVM. Like one JVM is running here in this system, one JVM is running here in this system, and there might be other systems as well. So Java provides support for distributed system architecture. Any doubt? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Okay. Now next is dynamic. What is dynamic? Any idea, guys?
Load the code at the time of first usage
Okay.
dynamically. I think
Anything else? Okay. So from this point, dynamic and high performance, we will discuss tomorrow. I think for today, we have only a demo class. So I believe that is enough for today. If you guys have any doubt, we can have a Q&A session for next 15 minutes. And if you don't have any question, then we can close it here.
I know. I just wanted to know about the course in general. Like, how long will this course take?
Okay. Okay. So I believe you all have the PDF that I have shared
Yeah.
with the content.
Mm-hmm.
So we are planning 35 to 40 days for the same class. Today I am going to stop within 1 hour. So daily it will be a 90-minute class instead of 60.
Mm-hmm.
So let's assume 30 to 40 days.
Yeah.
40 working days I am taking. Like we are not calculating Saturday and Sundays.
Oh, okay. Okay, and after the class is done, or in a later stage, are we going to do some project, like full from start to end project, so we get an idea like how, like, we are learning concepts, but how we going to put all of them together?
Yes. So for couple of days, next couple of days, what we will have simple, like some small programs to be done. Like when we will move to advanced Java, then we'll start building a system.
Okay.
Anyone else have any question?
Yeah. Is there a
Yes, please.
class tomorrow also? It is start from 25th only, right?
I believe we will start from 25th, as I was informed by the team.
Okay. Through the same link?
Sorry?
Through the same link?
Yeah, through the same link, correct.
Yeah, and also about the timing, because it is like 6 o'clock in the morning. Can we do like an hour or two later? If I
Okay,
don't
so
know,
from the
time.
coordination team, someone will confirm that if timing can be changed or not. I cannot do any commitment on that part.
Okay. Okay. Because I think it is still 9 o'clock, so maybe like 2 hours later, it still be like 10 o'clock morning for East Coast as well. Like
Yeah,
10,
actually, we
11.
have people from different time zone. So
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Even the East Coast, if it becomes like 10:30, 11, it should be fine, right? Is there anybody here from the East Coast? They can say if it works for them.
I think all are good.
Yeah, so we can move this, if you can ask them to move a little later time.
All right.
If
Okay.
it works for you, if it works for you, I don't know. Are you also
I'm in
here in
IST.
US?
I'm in IST.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how difficult is
I have to
this?
make calculations for like difference between your time zone and my time zone then.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, true. And how difficult you think is, like, once we are done with this thing, to get into a job? At what level can we get into, like a fresher level, or is it like a mid level? Is it comfortably we can get into it?
Okay, so with this training, I believe you can clear all the interview of level, like who are having experience more than 3 year or 3 year. I won't say more than three, like it can be 7 and 8 as well. So at least for 3 year you will be able to clear with this training.
Okay. Okay. And you are only giving the mock or like questions, interview question thing. Are you doing it or somebody else is doing it?
So for the content I have shared, we don't have the we don't have shared the mock interviews kind of thing, but in between I will give you some questions on like on daily basis what can be asked in interview, so that you guys will be prepared for that.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? No. Alan, do you have any question?
I didn't like receive the PDF actually.
The syllabus, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I will ask the coordination team, they will share with you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right. Alan, do you have any
Somebody has
question?
question.
Yes, please.
So we will get the recording right from.
Yes, you will get the recording.
Okay.
All right.
Uh,
Okay.
actually, is it only recordings or do you provide any material also?
For material, okay, what I'll do is I'll share some handwritten notes that I have.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, that will work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
fine.
Yeah.
So they will be like to the point. There won't be any explanation like we are doing here. There will be bullet points only.
Yeah, that is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that is good enough for referring.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Gurpreet, Nagamani, and Sri Vidya, do you guys have any question?
I think there was a question in chat.
Okay, let me just check the chat window.
Yeah, no.
Oh, Gurpreet, I'm sorry. I was not looking over the chat, but now I'm looking. Do we get practice questions after test? Yes, we will get. Yes, 6 a.m. is really early. So you are in the same time zone, Gurpreet? PST or EST? Okay. Okay. All right. So from my end, I can shift it 30 minutes later. Like today we have started at 7:30 p.m. IST. We can have it 8 p.m. EST instead of 7:30.
It means it is 6:30 here.
Yeah.
That is your that is the last you can start because of it is 8 o'clock.
Yes. Because
9:30.
if I like shift more, then
Yeah.
I will be late.
Oh yeah. So, what is your background as such?
Okay.
I may
Who
be
is this?
late because I didn't I came in late by the here, so I probably missed your introduction.
Okay. So my background is basically I'm in IT since 2012. I started working as a trainer with an institute, and post 2 year I have joined a company and started working as a developer. And from the same time, from since 2012, I'm working in both the domain, like in development and in the training as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and if you
Then
want to learn more about me, you can guys have my LinkedIn. I'll share you later on.
then you can share your real time experience with us.
Yes,
Because
exactly. Yeah, that is the difference basically. When you goes to a normal institute where they have trainers who are working in training only.
uh-huh.
Yeah, so the difference you will feel here.
So in this we also learn testing, or this is no only developing.
Yeah, currently I'm taking care of development only. Yeah, we do testing, but that is not automation. We write
No.
JUnit test cases.
Yeah, that's regarding unit testing and integration testing also.
Yes, not integration. I'm just like I am working on JUnit only.
Oh, only unit testing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's
Okay.
all.
Okay.
That is also part of our course.
That is not part of our course, but I will give you a basic idea of JUnit in last 2-3 classes. I think 2
Yeah,
classes
okay.
would be enough for that.
Yeah. That's a small concept, I think.
Yeah.
And this, you just now said like web service, like SOAP and REST, they
Mhm.
are like API, right?
Yes,
So
you can
do
say.
we, so we learn about like them also, or it is
Yes, yes.
only like
We will
overview?
learn in Spring Boot.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And how
So SOAP
difficult in
won't be there. SOAP won't be there because
Yeah,
SOAP I'm not working from last 5 years. But yeah,
okay,
rest would be there.
okay.
And
And so,
if you guys think like in your market, like in US, they are
yeah,
asking for SOAP, then we will definitely do some sessions. It will brush up my concept as well.
okay. That we have to find out from job requirements.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And you're asking you how how difficult is it really, like when everybody says oh Java is very difficult and very tough language, but we are looking at it as simple.
Okay. So when
So
I was a beginner, like yes, yes. Let me share my experience. When I was a beginner, like when I did my masters,
uh-huh.
I I was like blank. I don't have any clue at that time. Then I meet a person who is my guru,
Uh-huh.
and he was working in IBM at that time. And he like,
Agamani, can you mute?
and that person made everything like alphabets for me.
Okay.
So if you guys like spend some time on daily basis, like 2 or 3 hour daily,
Mm-hmm.
except this class, like, so I would say 4 hour or 3.5 hour a day, it
Mm-hmm.
will be like super easy for you. In initial days you will see like it is typical, but once you will start reading, then you will see it's not like, it's like other programming, or like you have learned alphabets in your
Okay.
childhood.
Okay. And so you give homework after after the class is there, like
Yes, yes, yes. So like today we don't really have anything
yeah, of course
to
there is
give
a
you.
demo.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
is there any like concepts like agile waterfall, like some concepts are there, right, for the real time?
Yeah, we will discuss about that, but these concepts are not really like about the programming.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
are like how to do things in
real time.
real time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After all the classes, are you going to explain about
Yes,
these
yes. I
things?
will give you the idea like how things work in industry. There is
Yeah.
nothing like to write code when we talk about the processes. These are basically process we follow,
Yeah.
waterfall or agile.
Yeah. Some core terminologies are there, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, we need some basic idea on that terminologies.
Yeah, that we will give. So
Yeah.
make a note like this is the thing we want to discuss, and if I feel I am comfortable to tell you,
Mm.
then I will definitely help you.
Yeah.
There might be some cases like you are asking for something and I haven't experienced that thing in past, so I will straightforward tell you like I can with some research or I cannot.
Yeah.
And when we are learning, like you said, like with Java, there are many versions, right? So are we only going? Which one are we learning on?
We will learn Java 8.
Java 8.
Yeah. So I would say like from Java 5 or 6 we can start, but we can discuss the differences that has been evolved in last few versions. Like in our current project, what we were working on Java 7, and recently we have migrated to Java 8.
Mhm.
And then we go to Java 9, there are certain features added on top of Java 8. Then we go to Java 11, there are certain features added on top of Java 9. So yeah, definitely we will discuss them as well.
Okay. No, only reason because she's saying that they put some experience, and if I'm showing some experience and I don't know, because earlier there must be something else, right?
Yes, I agree. So in like I'm not sure about the US, but here in India, most of the companies are looking for Java 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how
Hello?
much, yeah,
Yes,
how much
please.
deep they go, like in interview? How much really they go?
Yeah, so it all depends on the experience. Like if you are claiming you have 5-year experience in Java, and it's related Java development, then definitely they will do grilling on deeper concepts. Like how an object gets created, how where it gets created, what memory it will take, something like that, and internal concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Hello. I have a doubt in this. They made a resume like a Spring Boot framework,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know that Spring Boot
Okay.
framework. Yeah, I am going through the
So
YouTube videos. How it will help.
okay.
How much it will
So
help.
when you
Any
have
resources are there to learn easily?
yeah, let me answer this. So when you have Java in your pocket, what you will have some uh, you will start writing some applications. So for building applications, what you can use is, like, if you are building application software, then you can use Java FX, Swing, or AWT. But when you works on web-based applications, then you can use Servlet JSP. that was you that that basically was using in decade uh, before 2010, we can say in the decade of early 20s. Nowadays, like in around 2010, uh, a framework that is called Struts make popular, gain very popularity. Then later on, Spring came into picture, and in last 5-6 years, it has gained more popularity. Most of the developments are going, or applications are going to be right in Spring only. And from last 2-3 years, Spring Boot also came into picture. That that basically help us to rapidly start writing our applications. Like if you talk about in 2012 or 13, when I was working with Spring MVC, to prepare structure of a project takes weeks of days. But now it like 5 to 10 minute job, barely, with Spring Boot.
Yeah, what are the resources we have to learn easily, like Spring Boot?
Resources, you have Java T Point. Like I will share different links with different websites. There are different websites you can
Okay.
explore, or you can just go to documentation of like Spring Boot. If you want to read Spring Boot, if you want to study Java, you can just go to Oracle website. You can explore the documentation from there. And there are multiple resources, other websites as well. You can go there and explore.
Any one good one is there?
Any good one?
Your
I will, yeah. There is a blog. I haven't referred it last 1 year, I guess. GenCove. Let me just check if it is. I'll share the link. Yeah, it is still working. Let me just post that link here. Gurpreet asking some question. Any recommended website for practice from you so we can follow? Will you help us in installing Java? Yes, I will help you to install Java. Do we have class tomorrow? No, we don't have any class tomorrow. Do we need to learn any other language than Java? Yeah, once you have learned any language, I won't say Java. If you have any language hands-on, then you can learn a different language very easily. Like I have started my career with C, then I have moved to Java, and now I'm working on Python as well. Any doubt, Gurpreet?
Can you explain this REST APIs and RESTful services?
Yeah,
what is the
let me
difference
explain.
between?
Yes, ask.
REST APIs and RESTful services. What is the difference between?
Both are same thing.
Same thing. Okay.
Or in some cases, you might hear REST web service. Okay. Let me just quickly brief you about what is a REST API. Nowadays, you guys have seen, like if you go to some portal, let me take example of Quora. I think most of the guys aware this Quora. Yes or no?
Quora.
Yeah. Do you read it? Okay.
Yeah.
So when you want to create an account, what you do, you say, sign in with your Google account.
Yeah.
What happens, instead of taking all your details, it fetch your information from your Google account. Means at Google end, there is a system that is already written by someone that helps in user management. Okay. Now, if you want to write user management module, what you can do is you can write your own code. Let's say for this user management, they have written 10,000 line of code, and you want similar kind of thing here in your application. You can use this one. How you will use, like you will write 100,000 line of code here only. The second thing can be, you have this the Google have the capability of exposing their 10,000 line of code functionality as an API. So it will make a call to this API to save user here and to get user here. You getting basic idea?
Yeah.
Like two system wants to communicate to each other, they can talk with the help of this REST web service. Or let me take another example. Everybody have, I think, account on Facebook, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
You access Facebook using laptop
Mm-hmm.
and mobile as well, right?
Yeah.
So here, what we have a concept of called server, right? So this server basically what it does, it exposes some API. What API do? There will be something, some implementation. This API provides data. So on laptop, what you generally use? A web browser.
Yeah.
So this API basically provides, I would say, raw data. How do you want to represent this raw data? You do some coding on front end. Raw data will come to you and you will design a page and you will display that content here on web browser, right? Similarly, you want to use Facebook on mobile. Here you can see the look and feel is different, not like web browser. Getting me? So this, you will call this API, means there would be an application that will call the API and API will provide the raw data, and here you will represent the data. You have to write the code to represent this raw data into a readable form. Getting me?
Yeah.
So this is RESTful Web API.
Okay, services also same, right?
Same.
So basically that API is helping to convert it into different forms, like on the
It's
app.
not helping to convert basically. We have the logic, we are writing the logic only once and we are using that logic multiple times in different ways. Like for Android,
Yeah.
there will be different code. For
Yeah.
iOS, there would be different code, but we don't really need to change our logic here at server end.
Okay, because we have already written the logic and then it converts accordingly how it has to, according to the system.
Yeah, now we are doing that, how it will be look here in iOS, how it will be look like on Android, how it will look like on browser. On, so only thing we need to change is this part, the presentation layer. Right?
Yeah.
At backend we have an API. We will just call that API that will provide raw data, and how we want to represent that raw data, that depends. Gurpreet, what is your question? No question. Okay. So did you get all the answers you have asked? Like there were 3-4 questions you were asking. I believe you got all the answers. Okay.
So what about Java certifications? Will you guys help in writing the Java certification exams?
So when we talk about Java certification, that will take you a bit more to focus on few concepts, not like all the syllabus that we have shared with you. Few concepts you need to work on.
Okay.
Very deeply.
Okay, so we have to take it on our own.
I'll tell you in between, like this kind of concepts might be asked in your Java certification exam. I'm talking about the exam that Oracle takes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But that exam we have to take it on our own, right?
Yes, I think
You are not
you have to pay
facilitating.
for that. Yeah.
No, pay is okay, but are you facilitating us?
I mean, I pay by pay. I mean, like you have to pay the fees to Oracle to sit in the exam.
Mhm. Okay, but we will be prepared to take the certification with this. If we go with this, whatever the syllabus is.
With this course, like 60-70% you will be ready, but 30% effort you need to put on your own.
Okay, and you will let us know which areas we need to work on to get
Yes,
the other
I'll do that.
30%.
Yes. Anybody else having any question, or we can stop it here? Okay, I believe all are good.
I think she has something.
Yes, please ask.
Sorry, please go on.
Okay. Will you be providing like real life scenarios, like right now how the industry is and what are the how they are expecting the Java developers to be? How is the developing coding part? How hard it is, and the real life examples I'm asking.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll share the project. Like I will show you the project I am working on. I will not share that are like we cannot
I
share with
understand.
anyone. Yeah, but definitely I will show you like how we guys are working on that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question. Like, how do we submit the assignments that you give us? Is it through a Git or something like that?
So if you do with the Git, that would be good. Like you will learn about the Git. Who doesn't really know what is Git and how to work with Git. But I'm happy you can share with me in email, on WhatsApp. I think email would be good because in some cases what happens in WhatsApp, smileys, like when we write colon and then a bracket, it becomes smiley.
Yeah, I get it.
So yeah,
Like,
Git is a good idea actually.
yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Like, will you teach us like how to create our own Git or something like that?
Yes, I'll teach you. No worries.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Siri Vidya, do you have any question?
No, I'm good. Yes. Thank you.
Padvi?
So this, she's saying Git, that is the Git and GitHub is the same or is it different?
Both are same thing.
Same, no, okay. Okay, no, I don't have anything. Thank you.
All right. Alan, do you have any question?
No.
All right. Bhuvneshwari, do you have?
No, sir.
Gurpreet? Nagamani, Parveena, and Saroja. Do you guys have any question?
Yeah, until then we are clear about this. There are no doubts.
Okay. Okay. Last call. Anybody have any question?
If you go for a certification, which certification is good for us in Java?
Obviously, you should take Java 8 or the latest version like Java 11, 13.
Okay, with this course, we can go for 8, right?
On top of this course, I will discuss some points like what you need to practice. So basically, Oracle exam is all depends on your practice. There are like optional questions would be there, multiple choice questions would be there, and you will see like all the answers are looking same. So for that, what you need to do is like you have to be a compiler. You have to make your mind to work as a compiler.
The questions will be like multiple choice or
Yeah, multiple choice. In some cases, like what would be the output of this particular program? Some sort of code snippet would be given to you, and they will ask like what would be the output for this particular program. And in some cases, there would be some direct questions as well.
How many hours they'll give for the certification exam?
I think it's for 2 hours. I'm not sure. If you guys are really interested, then I'll grab the information and we'll share with you.
Yeah, we are interested in
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay, then definitely I'll share. Okay, guys.
Okay.
Stopping it here.
So this link, we'll get this link in Drive, or you're sharing like in an email, or how you're going to share this?
Sorry, come again.
This recording, how you're going to share with us? Is it you're going to share it as a Google Drive link, or?
I believe it will be shared on Google Drive link, but I'm not 100% sure. So
okay.
have you guys added? Have you guys joined my WhatsApp group?
No.
No. Okay, then I'll ask to coordination team. They will arrange something like they will share somewhere on Google Drive or somewhere else. They will inform you.
Okay. So that blog that you sent, is that where we can practice all the problems like exercises also?
No, there is no, I think there is not for practice. There is no space for practice.
Actually, like you can try in HackerRank. If you like create your own account in HackerRank, you can try in like various languages there.
Yes, you can do there, and you can do the same thing with Tutorials Point as well. They have their own editor.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, guys. All right. Who are in US or in like PST or EST, CST time zone?
Yeah.
Have a good day. And who are with me in India? Have a good night.
Yep, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.